Hi, my name is Julie Underwood. I'm your Mercer Island City Manager. I'm really excited to spend some time with you and our directors who will be outlining all the different cost cutting and efficiency measures that they've had to really embark on since 2001. In fact, in 2001, Initiative 747 put a 1% cap on the revenues that cities, counties, and special districts can collect. So since then, the city has had to really find ways to tighten its belt. So I'm excited to share those different measures with you, and so please stay tuned and keep watching. Thanks.
So Scott, you manage our development services group. Can you talk about some of the things you've done to tighten your belt over the last few years?
Sure. Well, one thing is that we have structural engineering review right on our staff.
Okay.
So we don't have to send plans out for structural engineering
How much
review.
can that cost if you're having to outsource a structural engineer review?
It'd be tens of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
But we have that in-house. So we've got somebody doing plan review who has that background.
Great.
Already. So that's helped save some money. The other thing that we've done is we've started to make more use of online services. So right now, all new plans, except for simple over-the-counter plans, are required to be submitted electronically. What that does is it allows our staff, instead of dealing with large sheets of paper and multiple page plan sets, to do their review right on a screen
Okay.
with their comments right on there.
Okay.
That's then loaded back up to our servers in real time, and then the applicant can see comments as we post them. So
Great.
they're aware of what to work on.
In essence, it's a faster review.
Yeah, faster
Okay.
review. Then when applicants respond, they respond directly to our comments,
Great.
like you would on a Word document.
Okay.
And then we're able to see in a much faster way how our comments have been addressed.
Okay. So
Saves a lot of time.
you've implemented some of these tech solutions
Right.
to help you. Any other tech solutions?
The other thing we've done is we've been getting a lot of questions from residents about different projects going on the island, and we are now posting all plans online.
Oh, wow. So they can just go to our website and,
Any time of the day or night, they can go
Okay.
to our website, and there will be links put in our notices that they
Okay.
can click on the link, and we try to keep that updated
Okay.
as best as we
so
can.
it saves someone on staff having to look that up for them. They could just self-help.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
great. Those are great ideas.
And I did figure out that based on a 2016 study that was done, that about 80% of our department is funded by permit fees,
Okay.
which is great. The other 20% are things that we cannot fund by permit fees. So, for example, long-range planning.
And we can't fund it because why?
State law
Okay.
prohibits us at this point. So long-range planning would be things like a couple of initiatives that we just completed, our town center revisions, as well as our new residential standards, residential code standards. We could not have collected or added to permit fees to help pay for that. So that was paid for by tax
I
dollars.
see. I see.
In addition to a fair amount of our code compliance activities that people call and complain about noise or a fence that's too high or something going on potentially without a permit. Some of those activities, again, have to be paid for by tax dollars because they're not related to a permit.
What is the service level for a code compliance officer? I mean, is that like a full-time person? How much?
Good question. So for years, we've had a half-time code compliance person.
Okay.
City Council at the end of last year authorized the hiring of another half-time code compliance person.
Okay.
So basically, we now have one FTE,
Okay.
and about half time is spent working on permit-related
I
code
see.
compliance issues. So
We can
we
recoup that. Okay.
recoup that with permit fees,
Okay.
but the other half is still
Okay.
not being used for
Those are
permit.
tax funded.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
other just general nuisance issues in the community.
Okay, thanks. That's
You're
really
welcome.
helpful.
Thank you.
Jeff, let's talk about some of the things you've had to do to tighten your belt and to save taxpayer money.
Sure. Let's talk about debt first. We issue bonds from time to time to finance major capital projects. And as a result, there's an opportunity to refinance that debt at lower interest rates. It's not unlike when a family refinances its home mortgage.
Okay.
And so last year we had that opportunity with our 2009 bond issue that was used to finance our sewer lake line project and our South Mercer Playfields project.
Okay.
As a result, we took advantage of lower interest rates. This was a 20-year bond issue, and we secured just under $600,000 in net present value savings.
Wow.
In layman's terms, we simply reduced the amount of debt service we had to pay
That's
and
great.
interest.
Good.
So that's one of my favorite examples, and that's happened from time to time as that opportunity
And
has
I know
presented
a
itself.
lot of work is put
It is
into it.
a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
There's a few trees that were sacrificed in that process.
What else have you done?
Let's see. Let's talk about our fleet.
Okay.
And while it may seem odd, what's the finance director talking about the fleet for? We're responsible for the fleet model.
Okay.
And so we have 130 some odd vehicles in our fleet, and we have a model that manages the replacement cycle, the costs, inflation factors, all that stuff. And what we use a fleet consultant who's a retired City of Tacoma fleet manager, and we visit with him about every 2 years, and we use fleet best practices, which he is well aware of. And so, for example, our police vehicles were on a 4-year replacement cycle. That was pretty much an industry standard, unless you're in a city where you drove it even more than we do. And your general fleet, your pickups, your sedans, your vans are typically on an 8-year cycle. So we were on those cycles. And when we visited with him back in 2016, we determined, we can extend the useful lives of these vehicles further. And so we changed our policy for police vehicles from 3 to 4 years, and for our
Okay.
general use vehicles from 8 to 10 years. The result was we were able to reduce our vehicle replacement rate on the police vehicles by 25%,
Wow.
and the general fleet by 20%. And those were significant savings.
That's great.
Those replacement costs.
That's great. Anything else you've done to try to manage the budget and keep us balanced?
I probably would say our budgeting approach is tighter than other cities,
Okay.
generally speaking.
What do you mean by that?
And so take personnel costs. That's 72% of our total general fund budget. And so we go the extra mile to really nail those costs down, the salaries and the benefits. Let's just take benefits, for example. And so you have different coverage demographics by labor group. In other words, you may have a single employee who is not married, no kids, or someone who's married and has kids. Lots of cities for years would assume conservatively full family coverage. But the reality...
So they're kind of building more cushion into their budget.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Because as there's turnover, you never know who you're going to get.
Sure.
And so we cut to the bone. Really.
Okay, so you're
And
not building any
no,
of that.
we're looking at for the police labor group, the fire labor group, and other labor groups, what is the average coverage demographic for that labor group? And we update it every 2 years and tie our budget to that. So we're really, really close.
I get it.
So
There's not a lot of room, however, for emergent issues or things that might come up. So you're really playing it pretty tight.
it's very, very tight.
Okay, Kryss, I know there are a lot of things you've done to manage belt tightening, cost reductions, savings, and as you know, personnel is probably our biggest cost. So as our HR director, can you describe some of the things you've done?
Sure. So as HR, we work closely with the departments, and as you said, salaries and benefits tend to be an area we have to look at when we need to tighten our belts. And some examples that we employed in the Great Recession were we had to freeze salaries, we froze pay for performance, and market studies. And this required that we went to the unions to get concessions.
Okay.
And we were successful in doing that. And so that really helped us to get through that period of time. I mean,
Okay.
so every department, every employee had to participate in the concessions in order to get us through that period of time. And so the good relationships I think we have with our employees and with our unions allowed us to do that. So that was significant savings during that period of time.
Great.
So that's probably the biggest. An ongoing thing that we do, regardless of whether belt tightening is needed or not, but it certainly serves its purpose if we have to tighten the belt, is every time we have a vacancy, we look at that as an opportunity to see if there can be some efficiencies created, Can the job be done differently? Can we reclass existing staff to take on the work? Is the classification of the vacancy the right classification? And oftentimes that will result in savings. So we have a number of examples where we have reclassed positions or just redistributed work, and it ultimately ended up in the savings.
Okay.
Even when that doesn't occur, where we can't reclass a position or spread the work, one of the analyses we go through is, can the position be open for some period of time, so the work absorbed temporarily by staff. So
basically getting some salary savings.
Getting salaries,
Good.
one-time salary savings
Yeah.
within that department for that position.
Great.
So without being too burdensome on staff.
the other staff,
But
yeah.
But yeah, so oftentimes that helps us get through each year. And so then the other thing that I look at, and these are small amounts because I have a small department, small budget, but within the human resources department, there's things that we do, just knowing that little things add up to big dollars oftentimes. And so some examples is executive recruitments.
Those can be expensive.
They are very expensive, about average $30,000,
Oh.
$30,000 per recruitment.
Okay.
And those are typically done through recruitment firms, and we do those in-house. So we manage those recruitments in-house. So that's $30,000 when those are.
That's a
come
good
out.
amount.
Yeah, and we do have a executive recruitment going on right now with our Kryss
Right.
director.
Uh-huh.
And we average probably one per year.
Okay.
So, over time, that's a lot of money. Labor negotiations in cities our size, even with in-house attorneys and HR directors, oftentimes bring in outside attorneys, labor law professionals, and we don't. We manage that.
Yeah,
in-house.
I was surprised that we didn't have an outside negotiator. I thought, oh, that's a great way to save some money.
It is, and I think that also speaks to our good relationships with our unions.
Great.
So there's trust there, but that's also very costly.
It is
to bring
very expensive.
a labor attorney.
Right.
So we're able to do that in house.
Great.
And then just some smaller things that are, one of the small things. It's $15,000, but I'm proud to say we're the only city that I know of that does the police promotional testing in house.
Wow.
So we manage that process in-house. We don't bring in a promotional testing firm. And we've done it with fire, kind of go back and forth with fire. So that's about $15,000 per process. So when you look at each of those examples, it adds up to $100,000. So it's just an example of little things adding up to a big cost savings.
Thanks. Those are great
Yeah.
examples. You're our IT director. Let's talk about some of the things you've done over the last few years to control costs, tighten your budget, really help drive more efficiencies in the organization.
We are an internal service
Right.
department, as you know. So a lot of the stuff that we do helps departments like police or fire, public works, DSG become more efficient. So I'll talk maybe just from two angles. One, internally speaking, just my IT and GIS folks.
And GIS is
Geographic Information Systems. So
people
it's-
who do the maps.
Yeah, so it's how we know where all the sewer pipes are and how
Okay.
we know where all the water pipes are, that kind of stuff. So generally speaking, the type of IT people we hire are generalists. They know how to wear a lot of hats. We have people who can do in any given day computer technician type work, network engineering type work, project management type work, administrative stuff. We don't hire people who only have one general skill set. And so that allows us to spread a very small amount of people over a very large amount of tasks. Cities have very diverse workloads, so a police department does a very different set of stuff than a parks department, and so the way we hire IT staff reflects sort of that need. And that helps us reduce the amount of reliance we have on vendors or consultants or having to hire temporary staff. We spend a lot of time trying to hire the best people with a wide range of skills just because of the type of demand and the work that we do. So that's one sort of small approach that we take internally. We obviously do competitive procurement, you know, so when we are going to go out and purchase a system, we make sure that we get as many bids as possible. We sit down with those vendors and nail down areas that you know, that don't necessarily need to be there, like travel. We can do a lot of stuff over the web. We can do consulting over the web. You know, we can do a lot of stuff like that. So we try to just incorporate that in every little thing that we do. Our administrative budget is super small. It's really just staff. We don't have line items we don't have an administrative assistant. We do all our own credit card bills. We do all of our own purchasing. We do all of our own timesheets and all of that kind of stuff. We just
You absorb all that
absorb all
overhead.
that
Okay.
across our team. So
What are some things maybe that you've done that maybe on the customer side?
Sure. You know, there's a lot, and it's kind of, you know, in a short period of time, hard to describe the progression of the use of technology here at the city since I've been here in 2004. So you might imagine how a citizen on Mercer Island would have paid their utility bill in 2004 versus how they might do that today. So before, you would have to drive in, you'd have to pay with a check. You might have to put it in the mail. You could not see your consumption over time online, so you can't tell whether there's a weird spike in your water bill. You can do all of that kind of stuff online, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week here, you know, in 2018. And I think that's relatively true across a wide range of city services. If you want to register for a recreation program, you can do that online now versus having to go in and visit the Parks Department. You can search a whole list of recreation opportunities, things like that. Permits. When you want to do an over-the-counter permit, you want to upgrade your water heater, you do that all online now. So the city in every department utilizes technology to increase either efficiency, improve the experience for the customer. I joke in the police department, obviously sometimes they have customers who have been pulled over, but you know, most of us who have been driving for a long period of time remember getting pulled over and you'd be there for, you know, an hour waiting for them to go back and run your license. You know, that interaction is negative, generally speaking, but it's really fast now because of the technology tools the officers have in their cars. You know, your EMTs, the people who are responding to cardiac events, and the way we share data regionally to improve health outcomes. I mean, I could go on and on and on about how departments use, the departments we serve, the IT department and the GIS folks serve, use technology to improve pretty much everything that we do as a city.
Great. Kari, I think it's really one of those things where no one really understands what a city attorney does and all those things. And one of the things I think often is missed is all the ways you've tried to really keep those costs down. And can you explain some of those to us?
Sure. So I joined the city in 2015, and I looked carefully at the staffing structure for the city attorney's office. And one of the things I noticed is we could better utilize the paralegal who supported the department. So one of the things that I did immediately is transfer the work that was being done by the paralegal to support our prosecution team, transfer that to the prosecution team, which is an outside contracted firm,
Okay.
and brought the ability of that paralegal to instead support the civil work that we do in-house.
What do you mean by civil work? What kinds of things involve that?
So the city attorney's office handles not only the criminal defense and prosecution work for our municipal court, but we also defend civil matters on behalf of the city.
Okay.
And so we have land use appeals
Okay.
and
So people sue the city.
correct.
We might want to litigate like this sound transit litigation, those kinds of things.
Correct.
Okay.
So we handle litigation in all different forums.
Okay.
So at the administrative level, before our hearing examiner, also before various boards and commissions,
Okay.
and in addition, of course, in King County Superior Court, and as needed on appeal before Division I of the Washington Court of Appeals or even the State Supreme Court.
So that model helped really enhance your service.
It
Changing
definitely
that.
did. It
Right.
definitely did. So we have basically effectively recaptured the paralegal's
good.
time to support the civil defense work that we do in-house. What that allowed us to do is achieve even greater savings because we were hiring outside counsel at the rate of $500 an hour
Oh my.
to instead handle that work in-house. And even with salary and benefits factored in, the hourly equivalent of that work is closer to under $120 an hour.
Oh, wow. So
So
that's a big
It's
saving.
a huge savings,
Oh, good.
over 80%. So
Wow.
we were able to bring in a lot more work in-house
Mhm.
and capture savings for the city that way.
And I think one of the things I often hear from staff, I mean, obviously that's a great savings, but you improve the service to employees who have to seek your counsel.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And of course, I have help with our Assistant City Attorney, Beal
Mhm.
Park, and our paralegal, Mary Swan. And we can't control the volume of litigation
Sure.
that we deal with. That does fluctuate. But one of the nice things about having a small department is we are very elastic. You know, we can expand and contract as needed to
Great.
not only handle in-house legal advice and drafting of ordinances and resolutions, but also taking on these litigation matters as they arise.
Great. Any other cost-cutting measures you've done or things you've tried to do to reduce our growing costs?
Sure. So we are relying more heavily on software for legal
Oh,
research, and we
okay.
have canceled all our subscriptions for hardbound books.
Oh,
Believe it or not,
great.
legal books are incredibly expensive. They are hundreds of dollars per volume.
Oh, wow.
And so we utilize online databases.
Okay.
Right now we're using LexisNexis for our online legal research, and we try to research whenever possible online. It's just a huge cost.
Yeah, I
savings.
am kind of surprised we don't have I'm used to having a legal law library, at least at a city, and I'm kind of surprised we don't have it, but that explains it.
Right, we don't need a law library, and they're very expensive to
Right.
maintain, and you have to constantly be ordering the latest volume of the
Okay.
books.
All right.
The books are very expensive, so we instead do almost all of our research online.
Great. Thanks, Kari.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to all of our stories. We will continue to find cost savings, budgetary savings, efficiencies, all of those things to reduce our costs and to continue to provide great services to you, our community. If you'd like to learn more about the city's financial challenges, please visit our website at mercergov.org.